probably know this by now, but that's how a before you buy works. I give you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinion thrown in there, but now I definitely want to hear yours.
Okay. I think this game is a chore to get through. I think you missed a major plot element, though in your defense it's easy to miss. And I think you were generous with the cons. Extremely generous. Sometimes you need to look a little longer into the shadows to see what's lurking in the dark. And what happens when you pull back the curtain a little more? What do you see on the other side? That's where I come in. I'm not willing to be as charitable. So without further ado, let's begin. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. I am Bowiehunter, and today I am going to be discussing Outlast 2. I played this game for a bit, made a few videos, and well, then I noticed a few things. This game has some glaring issues. This game is severely unimpressive. I'm not going to make the mistake of calling this an in-depth analysis, because the way I see it, almost an hour's worth of audio just briefly discussing issues is just not long enough to cover everything that should be mentioned in a long-form review of a game. This is not an in-depth analysis. First, we need to discuss some things regarding its development. In numerous articles like this one from Escapist magazine, they write that, quote, Philip Morin, the co-founder of Red Barrel's Games, stated in an interview that one of the inspirations for the story of Outlast 2 was a lot of research into the Jonestown Massacre, which he said has been dubbed the biggest mass suicide ever in recorded history. Morin went on to say that Outlast 2 will definitely bridge the gap between it and Outlast, since both games are, in his words, in the same universe. However, Morin was moot on exactly how it would, saying it's still way too early to reveal that, end quote. This was written in March 2016. The game was released in April 2017. This inspiration will be important to keep in mind as we go forward. However, I am getting ahead of myself, so due to how long everything is, I will be splitting this into 3 videos. This will be the introduction, the story, and the beginning of my criticisms. Next will be all criticisms, and the last video will be finishing with Murkoff and my final thoughts. So before we get started, I want to show you this. Red Barrel's website describes the setting as miles into the Arizona desert. You know, I'm not gonna lie, this is the weirdest desert I've ever seen, Red Barrels. What the hell kind of desert is this? I mean, look, we have towering mountains, forests, we have a damn lake. None of this says desert to me. Oh god, your own Steam page disagrees with your main website. What? Where are we right now? Oh Christ, we haven't even gotten started and there's already problems. Anyway, first thing we need to do is go over the story of the game, like I said. Just for context, so we have all of our information in front of us, here is a description of Outlast's story.
Outlast begins with Dr. Rudolf Wernicke and Dr. Alan Turing working together to write a paper about revolutionary technology. From that research, Wernicke discovered a use for nanotechnology, or more specifically, nanomachines. While Alan would progress with computers, Dr. Wernicke would then continue his work in Germany under the Nazis. Here he managed to reach success. Through inhumane torture, subjects are brought to a mental state that is even more powerful than the best of hope. Absolute horror. It allows patients to become nanomachine factories while hooked up to the morphogenic engine, and after receiving potentially years of torture both physically and mentally, these patients will be brought to a point of complete despair and pain. This allows them to astral project while connected to the morphogenic engine, and manipulate the nanomachines to create a cloud that can function as one large unit to show great strength and speed. Wernicke was successful in Germany, and this was expected to be applied for military use. When Wernicke's colleagues asked if they would also have the same fate if they were to kill themselves, he confirmed their beliefs and they committed suicide. Once Wernicke was the only survivor, he told stories of the Wall Rider to explain what had happened in that facility. Years later, the Murkoff Corporation, known for their interest in money, learned of Wernicke's work and hired him to spearhead the revival of his project at Mount Massive's insane asylum. Under the guise of simply pursuing charitable work, the asylum was recently bought by the Murkoff Corporation for this purpose. During his time there, patients were subjected to horrifying psychological and physical damage at the hands of the doctors, orderlies, and sometimes patients. As time moved on, Wernicke's Wall Rider project subjects were dying, or at the very least losing all sense of their cognitive faculties. A patient named Billy Hope managed to pull through and become a great candidate for the project, and it worked better than anyone could have hoped. The cloud of nanomachines being manipulated by Billy while attached to the morphogenic engine ransacked the asylum and eviscerated each of the workers and inmates alike. Upon investigating the asylum, thanks to a tip from a whistleblower, Miles Upshaw entered the asylum. After making his way through various parts of the asylum, he confronted and killed Billy by stopping his various life support systems, leaving the Wall Rider without a guiding hand or a host, and thus the Wall Rider chose Miles for its new host. As Miles prepares to leave the asylum, he is shot down by several soldiers. As a result, the now sentient and self-sufficient Wall Rider kills them all, as far as we can tell, leaving the legacy of the Wall Rider up to question.
Now let's dive into the story of Outlast 2. The Murkoff Corporation is conducting experiments with the morphogenic engine with radio towers to see if they can turn the inhabitants of Temple Gate into projectors for the morphogenic engine, presumably to see if it is possible to be in a state to astral project and manipulate the nanomachines without the need for being connected to the morphogenic engine. The known side effects from experimentation with the morphogenic engine for test subjects is variable insanity, and specifically to female subjects, phantom half-term pregnancies that result in miscarriages, and some of them have been reported to be fatal. This leads us to Sullivan Noth, Templegate's reverend. Father Noth would often encourage the women of his community to breed frequently and would participate in that action himself. This not only led to an outbreak of syphilis, but an influx of ill children left under Vol's care. As the experimentation from Murkoff continued, these practices started taking darker tones, and the voice that Father Noth was hearing, presumably from the radio towers, encouraged him to have the children killed. This did not stop the breeding practices, which then led to Noth impregnating a 15-year-old named Anna Lee. After this happened, her father Ethan helped her escape Temple Gate, and she was later found dead. This led to an investigation to find out why Anna Lee was out on a highway alone while pregnant. Which brings us to husband and wife Blake and Lynn Langerman. Lynn is an investigative journalist, and Blake is the cameraman. While on the way to wherever they were going via helicopter, the radio towers, or the engine itself, was activated, causing a bright light that caused the helicopter to crash, sending Blake into a chain of events wrapped in insanity. When he finally reunites with Lynn, they attempt to escape, but he sees that she is visibly pregnant. Lynn has unfortunately fallen prey to the phantom pregnancy side effect of the morphogenic engine tests and died from it, ultimately leading to an entire community dead, along with Blake's wife, and leaving the audience with more questions than answers. Now, if you've played this game, and you listened to me lay out this story summary, and you got confused, don't worry, I don't blame you. So let's take this game piece by piece, and see if we can clear any of this up. You play as Blake Langerman, and your helicopter crashes because of the bright light. When you regain consciousness, you pick up your camera and discover that the pilot is dead, not from the crash, and you try to find Lynn after you discover that she is not at the crash or in the wreckage. You get Lynn from the church, and Father Noth says that he examined her and saw that she was pregnant. Father Noth then states that Lynn is carrying the Antichrist, and that now the two of you must be killed, lest the end of days will ensue. Overall, Lynn doesn't want to talk about what happened in the church. So you escape only to be caught again, and you meet the heretics, led by Vol. Vol and the heretics take Lynn away, and now you have to go get her back. Again. You fall off a cliff and meet Ethan, the father of the dead teen that prompted this investigation. Ethan offers you refuge in his home. When you wake up, Marta is in the house and kills Ethan. And you decide to head to the chapel to find out where Lynn was taken. And I gotta say, super convenient that there just so happens to be someone held there who knew, right? So we learn that she was taken to the mines, and you make your way there. However, when you are crossing a rail bridge, something happens that I can only describe as the Egyptian plague of locusts comes and knocks you off of the bridge into the valley that happens to be where the syphilis camp is, home of the Scald. The Scald are the faction of people with syphilis. So now we're up to 3 factions. I felt like I had to say that because Blake didn't.
It's not just a cult. It's 2 sides. Christians and something else.
Anyway, you meet Nick and Laird, who are the antagonists for the Scald faction. And you get nailed to a cross after Laird takes your camera. You take it back, and then Nick and Laird bury you alive, and you escape, and they get killed by their own people. Next, you cross the lake to get to the mine entrance, avoiding the heretics as you do so. Take the elevator down, and now you're in the mine. Here, you reunite with Vol, who now assumes leader heretic form, and you escape to get to Lynn, while Vol chases you to the ritual area, which I will not be showing or going into detail on, where the heretics await the birth of the Antichrist. A heretic blows some dust in your eyeballs, which stuns you and takes your camera, and after not going into any more detail on that scene, Vol is killed off camera. Now you're outrunning Noth's men and grab Lynn and get out of the mine. Just in time for Marta to chase you one last time, and she dies via intervention from God. Child gets born, Lynn dies, Noth dies after telling you he killed all of his disciples, world ends, roll credits. Wait, we're still not done, because now we get to talk about the other half of the game. And I mean that quite literally. You are periodically sent to Blake's Catholic elementary school, where you gradually learn the circumstances behind the death of one of Blake's close friends, Jessica Gray, who is assaulted and killed by the music teacher, Father Loutermilch, who then made Blake keep quiet about it while making it look like she hanged herself. Are you still confused? Well, that's okay. You're not alone.
And nothing made any fucking sense.
Read if you want to get a sense of what the hell is happening in this confusing story.
Explain! Explain! No!
Congratulations, Red Barrels. You crafted a story that successfully confused so many people. So if you were curious and didn't know, the game has 6 chapters: Genesis, Job, Lamentations, Judges, Leviticus, and Revelations. Each chapter has a various number of segments in them, split up between the cult stuff and the school stuff. In total, there are 29 segments, not counting Revelations. 15 of those segments are the cult stuff, 12 are the school. This is just something that I found interesting because it didn't feel like I was spending much of the game in the school segments, when in fact, the school segments were almost half of the game. So I'll structure this with the more minor and nitpicky stuff at the beginning, and we'll progress based on how much I have to say for each section. The positive and the negative critiques. They're mostly negative though. But I like to start on a high note, so we'll start positive. Visually, this game is beautiful. Just incredible looking scenes. I have an entire folder full of these remarkably atmospheric shots. The lighting in these areas are absolutely stunning and work exceedingly well in creating a spooky atmosphere. I don't know what it is about dark rooms and hallways with one source of light, and either having it reflect or just resonate, that makes me enjoy just standing back and looking at them. But god damn, just look at these scenes. And what about the outside? My god, look at this. You'd think this was a promotional picture or something, but no, I took this in the game. This honestly makes choosing a thumbnail for a video supremely difficult, and I wish more games were this beautiful. There's so many good shots that I can choose from that I have a really tough time choosing. Are there any more adjectives that I can use for beautiful? How about beguiling? That's a good one. And it's actually perfect for these scenes that we're looking at. And that's my 2 cents on the visuals. Now to the negative. Instead of healing over time, you now have bandages. Makes sense narratively, however it does mean for another resource to manage, and just make sure you don't try to heal while running, because Blake will stop to apply the bandage. Oh my god, there's an option to not fail QTEs. That's amazing. Is there an option just to have the gameplay itself too? Is that a thing? The opening "you can't fight" thing says neither of you are fighters, implying they'll be together throughout the game. But no, you mostly control Blake. There are 2 times where you're together, and one of those times it's basically a cutscene because you don't have to press anything. They move by themselves. Why does Lynn not care if I severely screw up the first recording? There's no real world effect for not following the script. How do you have a helicopter crash and you're trapped by a door but the camera is immaculate, while your clothes are torn and your watch is broken? Oh, and you can dodge, but they hit you anyway, which kind of makes me wonder what the point of the mechanic is. Okay, seriously, how the actual hell did Lynn get this far away? We were in the middle of a ritual, and she was tied up when we went to School Land. And in the short amount of time that we're there, let me get this straight. Lynn gets out of that tied up position. We don't know when, but neither the heretics nor Noth's men stopped her, because remember, Noth still wants you and her dead. And when you wake up, she's had enough time to waddle herself all the way up to the entrance of the mines while in the advanced pregnancy stage. How? It's implied that the lights are caused by the radio towers activating. But why do the radio towers activating cause your helicopter to crash? Did they create an EMP wave too? Exactly how powerful are these towers, and what is the limit to them? Vol and Laird suffer from the same issues that Eddie Gluskin suffered in Whistleblower. Narratively, they're trying to essentially kidnap you. But if you make the wrong move in-game, they will kill you. Oh, real quick. People apparently keep confusing the church and the chapel, so just to clarify, Lynn gets taken to the church, and you go to the chapel to learn that she was taken to the mines. Those two are not the same places. The syphilis camp. There are several sores that are very clearly present, so congratulations, you also have syphilis now, as it is highly contagious when the sores and rashes are present. Also, syphilis can be very life-threatening, so I sincerely hope Blake can get a shot of penicillin soon and maybe a blood transfusion, because otherwise he will be very, very dead. Also, why does Laird try to kill you via bow and arrow but immediately turn around and say,
"The gospel isn't done yet. You will report your own resurrection. You will complete your gospel."
I kinda have to be alive for that, Red Barrel. Why are they trying to kill me and then suddenly want me alive? Why the fuck did you kill Vol off camera? You returning to the school parts because of the white lights is not consistent. It doesn't happen all the time. Like here in the water. You are trying to get away from the heretics, but you get dragged down to the school's pool. But there wasn't a flash of light. And here, where there's a flash but you don't get thrown into the school, a bunch of birds die. Or here, where again there's a flash but all that happens is the cultists stop chasing you. What's up with the lights? Alright, that will do it for this video. In the next part, we will jump straight into the rest of the criticisms that I have, and I expect that one will be the longest out of this series. Regardless, I will see you then.